In 1947, a copywriter named Francis Garrity scribbled 4 words at the end of a long day. "A diamond is forever." Those words became the most successful slogan in advertising history. They convinced 3 generations that an engagement ring requires a diamond, that 2-month salary is the right price, that the tradition is ancient. None of it was true. The tradition was barely a decade old when your father proposed. De Beers controlled the supply, fixed the price, and made sure nobody questioned the story. Then someone grew the same diamond in a reactor in 7 days. Same carbon, same fire. A gemologist needs a machine to tell them apart. Last year, 6 out of 10 engagement rings in America carried the lab-grown stone. De Beers just wrote off $6.8 billion. The company that invented your tradition is up for sale. It took 70 years to build that monopoly. It took 7 to break it. And it started with one engineer who got paid $10. In 1954, Tracy Hall at General Electric built a homemade press and squeezed graphite under extreme heat and pressure. A diamond came out the other side. Small, dark, industrial grade. But real carbon, same crystal structure as anything pulled from a mine. GE filed the patent and gave Hall a $10 savings bond as a reward. He quit. For 50 years, lab diamonds stayed industrial. Drill bits, saw blades, abrasives. Nobody could grow a stone clean enough or large enough for a ring. 1 degree off, 1 fluctuation in pressure, and the carbon locked into graphite instead of diamond. Same atoms, wrong arrangement. It took until the 2000s before the reactors caught up. New machines held conditions stable for days instead of hours. Startups emerged. Diamond Foundry launched with DiCaprio's backing. The first stones matched natural in every way a gemologist measures. Then prices started falling. 80% of natural in 2016, 20% by 2023, under 10% by 2025. De Beers fought back in 2018 with Lightbox, their own lab brand at $800 a carat. Analysts called it a sacrificial pawn, priced the competition so low that consumers dismiss it. In May 2025, De Beers shut Lightbox down. Lab prices had undercut even the pawn. It starts with a seed, a thin slice of existing diamond, smaller than a contact lens. Everything else grows from there. 2 methods exist. They could not be more different. HPHT, high pressure, high temperature. The seed goes into a press packed with graphite. Several tons of steel, floor to ceiling. The machine squeezes with force equivalent to 100 miles underground. 1,300 to 1,600 degrees. Under that pressure, graphite dissolves. Carbon drifts toward the seed and locks into its crystal lattice. Layer by layer. Weeks later, a rough stone comes out. Most of the world's lab diamonds start this way, but HPHT hits a wall. Size and clarity both have a ceiling. For larger stones with fewer flaws, the industry needed something else entirely. CVD, chemical vapor deposition. No press, no graphite. Just a vacuum chamber and methane gas. Microwaves heat the gas until it ignites into plasma. The chamber fills with purple light, a low hum you feel in your chest more than you hear with your ears. At that energy, methane breaks apart. Carbon atoms separate from hydrogen, drift downward, and land on the seed. 1 atom at a time. The crystal grows for 7 to 10 days. Nothing moves fast, nothing looks dramatic. Just a quiet violet glow, building a diamond atom by atom. If conditions held, temperature steady, pressure constant, no contaminant in the chamber, the stone comes out clear. No metallic inclusions, no nitrogen traces. Mined diamonds carry traces of their journey. Nitrogen from surrounding rock, metallic flux from deep underground. The reactor carries none of it. About 2% of natural diamonds reach this level of purity. The reactor produces it as routine. The artificial version is purer than the natural one. A rough lab diamond does not look like a gemstone. It looks like a cloudy, squared-off tile. The transformation into a ring happens across 2 continents. Laser cutting shapes the rough. A polisher works the facets on a spinning wheel, 57 or 58 for a brilliant cut. IGI grades each stone on the 4 Cs. A laser inscribes an ID on the girdle. That tiny number is the only thing separating it from natural. 80% of rough grows in Henan Province, China. Reactors run around the clock in industrial parks that barely existed 5 years ago. 90% gets cut in Surat, India. 300,000 workers, the same hands that shaped natural diamonds for decades. A polisher in Surat uses the same wheel and the same technique for a lab stone as for a natural one. The rough just arrived from Zhengzhou instead of Antwerp. The finished gem sells in New York or Los Angeles. 3 countries, 3 time zones, 1 diamond. Walk into a Walmart, past the groceries, past the pharmacy. There is a glass case 3 aisles from the produce section. Inside it, a 1.5 carat lab diamond ring, $698. Costco carries them. Amazon ships next day. In 2025, the average American engagement ring cost $4,600 with a center stone near 2 carats. Less money, bigger stone? Lab diamonds drove that. The last argument for natural, that it holds value, collapsed with everything else. A natural 1 carat peaked at $6,819 in May 2022. By late 2025, under $5,000, down a third. Lab diamonds fell further, down 88% since 2020. Neither holds value anymore. One of them never pretended to. Disruption usually stays inside an industry. This one left the building. Botswana depends on diamonds for 70 to 80% of exports and a third of government revenue. Not a product line, a national budget. When lab prices collapsed, rough demand collapsed with it. Botswana cut production 40%. 12 million carats sat unsold. In September 2025, S&P downgraded Botswana for the first time in 5 years. 6 months later, they cut again to BBB- with a negative outlook. Moody's followed. GDP contracted. Unemployment crossed 25%. Anglo-American put De Beers up for sale. No confirmed buyer. A country that used diamond revenue to build one of Africa's most stable economies watched that foundation crack. A reactor in central China did not just disrupt a jewelry company, it destabilized a nation. The same war happened before, with pearls. In the early 1900s, Mikimoto figured out how to culture pearls. Grow them inside oysters using a nucleus inserted by hand. The natural pearl industry called them fake. Governments banned them. Jewelers refused to carry them. The fight lasted decades. Today, virtually every pearl on the market is cultured. Nobody asks whether it grew in the ocean or on a farm. Nobody calls it fake. It is a pearl. The technology won because the product was the same and the objection could not survive contact with reality. Lab diamonds are following the same arc. The resistance sounds identical, not real, no soul, never a substitute for nature. The pearl industry said every one of those things, then it disappeared. One honest caveat: lab prices are still falling. A lab diamond is not an investment, but it never claimed to be. The $9,000 ring at the counter holds a stone that wholesaled for $500. The margin was never in the carbon. It was in the story wrapped around it. Same crystal, same fire. One took 1 billion years underground. The other took a week in a reactor. Pearls fought this war a century ago. Nobody remembers who objected.